Alright, move that back a little bit. Alright, well, I was looking on WWE.com, and I found one of their interesting little um, lists that they usually do. They do, like, the top 10 best tag teams, 50 greatest tag teams. They'll talk about that, but one of the ones I'm going to talk about tonight, pardon me, is they ranked the 15 worst names in wrestling. Now, that's kind of a bold statement right there, because there's been a lot of bad names in wrestling, bad gimmicks. And, you really can't... 15's a small number for that kind of stuff, in my opinion. I could think of a couple more, but I'll just name off their 15, and if I think of any, I'll lay into it. These aren't in any particular order, but I do remember quite a lot of them. Some I don't, some I do. But the first one that they mentioned was Bastion Booger. And I remember Bastion Booger as Norman the Lunatic in WCW, like very early 90s Norman the Lunatic. And he kind of had the... well, Dog would appreciate this. He kind of had the Morgus the Maniac gimmick, where he played this insane asylum, I guess, patient, and they would let him out to wrestle. I never understood why you would make your gimmick that. It'd be an insane asylum patient. You know damn well they're not going to let you out to wrestle. There's just no way. But he came into the WWF as Bastion Booger, and he was this bald dude. He wore like a singlet. It was disgusting, but nothing memorable about this guy at all. And it's a damn shame too, because he had potential. Everybody has potential, but I think if he did the Norman the Lunatic gimmick, he probably would have made it a little bit better. But I'm just trying to think. Something about this guy. His biggest thing was with Bam Bam Bigelow, where they became a tag team. But this was kind of around the time when the WWF brought in these... They call them enhancement talent. They're jobbers. But these weren't like your traditional jobbers. They were given gimmicks. They were given... I'm trying to think here. Sometimes they would wrestle other jobbers and win, but you never were going to see them as champions. Let's just go with that. There were so many. T.L. Hopper was one of them. He was a plumber. Alex the Pug Porto was one of them. Aldo Montoya, the Portuguese Man of War. That was another good one. He was one of these guys. Jim Ross had this one guy, Freddie Joe Floyd. He was from Oklahoma. And Jim Ross would talk this guy up. Like, Freddie Joe Floyd, he has a future in this business. He didn't last long. None of them did. But so yeah, Bastion Booger. That was a bad name too. Like, I think I mentioned this before, but every name that I have on this, or that is on this list, I want you to say, in your best Howard Finkel voice, your winner and new WWF champion, and then say their names. Like, so, in this case, the new WWF champion, Bastion Booger! It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? I would buy a t-shirt. The next one, I think I mentioned this before, Hugh Morris, Bill DeMont. I don't know why this name's on here. I didn't mind Hugh Morris that much. I mean, it was a play on words. But would I call it the worst name? No. Some of these names on here I don't think belong on here, but that's it. Hugh Morris is one of them. It wasn't terrible. The Godwins, yeah, Henry Godwin when he first came in, and then his cousin Phineas Godwin. They were Southern Justice, Mark Canterbury and Dennis Knight. They were also Tex Salinger and Shanghai Pierce in WCW. So these guys have been together for a long time. But yeah, when Henry Godwin first came in, he was a hog farmer. And his big gimmick was he carried a slop bucket around with him, and he would dump this slop bucket on his opponents at the end. And his middle initial was O. So you had Henry O. Godwin, H-O-G. And then when Phineas came in, his initial was I, P-I-G. They teamed them with Hillbilly Jim, HBJ. And they were Hicks. They brought animals down with them. And yet, and I'm going to get cheap for this, I'm sure, watching the Godwins and Hillbilly Jim was far more entertaining than watching Duck Dynasty. That's for sure. This one I totally forgot about. The Gemini Twins. If you don't remember, Nova, who was in ECW, he came in as Simon Dean, who was kind of this health guru. Oh shit. Yeah, like those infomercials where they're selling exercise products or something like that. There's always this real spastic guy like, come on, work it, come on, you can do it, woo! That was Simon Dean. Really lame. I wish they would have just kept him Nova, but he brought out these two identical twin steroided motherfuckers. These guys were big, huge guys, and you would think that in wrestling they would be a big thing. Like bigger guys are always going to get pushed more, but I think it was very early on these guys were exposed as being not very good wrestlers. In fact, their biggest feud was with Paul London and Brian Kendrick. And when you're jobbing out to Paul London and Brian Kendrick, you best get your future endeavors in order, because you ain't gonna last long. And they didn't. I think they didn't even last a year, I think. Which I don't know why. These guys are big dudes. If you look these guys up. But what was that? This one I did not agree with at all. The next one, Just Incredible. I love that name. Like, Just Incredible. One of the coolest names ever. You know, his name was Justin, space, last name, Credible. Play on words, sure, but it worked. And this guy didn't get as much credit as being as good as he was, because he was Aldo Montoya. He was the Portuguese Man of War in the WWF. And then he went to ECW, became Just Incredible. But then he left there to go to the WWF. He became part of X-Pac's group, X Factor. But he never got a chance to kind of capture the magic that he had in ECW, because he was one of their top heels. And he was such an asshole, and it worked so well. There were moments when he wrestled, well, let's see, when he first broke into ECW, he started doing the big heel shit. He broke the leg of Mikey Whipwreck, and he bragged about it. He beat the great Suzuki, great Japanese wrestler, and stole his mask. You know, you don't do that kind of shit, because it's just so disrespectful. The worst thing he ever did was they were doing a 10 count, a special, like a silent count, like a 10, ring the bell 10 times for somebody when somebody died. It was for Tommy Dreamer's grandfather. And they're ringing the bell. Like, Tommy Dreamer had just lost his grandfather, and he's in the ring, he's crying. And suddenly, Just Incredible comes out of nowhere while they're ringing this bell, and he fucking attacks Tommy Dreamer. And oh, it was heel shit. I loved it. They don't do that anymore. Like, that was. I was gonna bring this up, but I think I even mentioned this before my last one. But there was rumors going around that Vince wanted to get rid of heels and faces, which, you know, you're never gonna see that kind of shit again. Oh my God, that would have been awesome. Like, somebody like loses a parent, storyline. They lose a parent or a loved one, and somebody comes out and interrupts their heartfelt tribute. Oh my God, that's heat. And it's cheap heat, but it works wonders, I'm telling you. But yeah, I didn't agree with that. Just Incredible. I'm still kind of pissed off I didn't get to see him in Newville. He was supposed to be in Newville for a show. Never showed up. I'm still pissed. The next one, I never knew this, but G.I. Bro. Instead of G.I. Joe, G.I. Bro. Now, according to WWE's website, they give little blurbs about this stuff, but according to the website, G.I. Bro was originally Booker T's name when he first came into the WCW. And then, of course, he teamed up with Stevie Ray and became Harlem Heat. Great tag team. Then he broke off, kind of was doing his own thing. And then when WCW went through the Russo era, he went back to being G.I. Bro. And it didn't last long. He eventually went back to being Booker T and became five-time WCW champion. If you want to know about it, ask him. He'll tell you all about it. But yeah, G.I. Bro. I've heard worse. Next one. This is a good one. I remember the vignettes very well. It showed a racetrack. It showed the race cars going around it. And then they cut to this guy with a big old smile on his face. Perma-smile on his face. He says, "Howdy, y'all. My name's Thurman Plug, but everybody calls me Sparky." And Noah's falling off the couch. Yeah. Thurman Sparky Plug. And there went Icky. Noah, come here. Come here. Come here. But yeah, Thurman Sparky Plug was the first moniker of Bob Holly. And just the name Thurman Plug. You almost wonder if he was one of those one of those enhancement guys that was supposed to be a jobber. But eventually the whole Thurman thing did not work out because he would come back later and be Bob Spark Plug Holly. Still doing the same gimmick, same race car gimmick, but that was his thing. He was a race car driver and also did wrestling. You would think one would maybe pay for the other, or you do one by day, one by night. Thurman Sparky Plug. Yeah. Next one, the Ringmaster, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin's first gimmick when he got into the WWF. Yeah. Ringmaster would have worked in the 80s probably, but yeah, the Ringmaster. Yeah. Your new World Wrestling Federation champion, the Ringmaster. I hear the Ringmaster and I think of that old cartoon Captain N, the Game Master. Like, every time he came on, I'm like, Captain N, the Ringmaster. Yeah. The next one. The next one, and I just dropped my camera. That was Nala. The next one, Meat. Meat. M-E-A-T. Meat. This was Sean Stasiak's character, who was the son of the legend Stan the Man Stasiak, who was one of the pioneers of the Heart Punch. And, excuse me. Woo. My first sneeze ever on the WTF. But yeah, the Heart Punch. The Heart Punch is the coolest move ever. I'm amazed they never brought this back. If I ever got into wrestling, I would want to do the Heart Punch, because what the guy would do is he'd pick his opponent up, he'd put his arm behind his head, and he'd rear back, and he'd punch him right in the heart, like right in the chest, and the concussive blow would just cause the man to just fall down dead. Just give him a heart attack. But Meat. What do I remember about Meat? Meat was... Oh, damn, what is wrong with me tonight? Meat was the boy toy of another group that had a stupid name. It was Terry Runnels, Jacqueline, and Ryan Shamrock, who was supposedly Ken Shamrock's sister. By the way, wasn't real sister. She was hot, though, but not the real sister. But their group was Pretty Mean Sisters, or the acronym PMS. PMS. And, yeah, Meat was their toy, their boy toy. That he would wear his little fucking tighty whities out to wrestle, and it was really embarrassing. I would have been just absolutely disgusted doing that shit, but getting paid the amount of money he was probably getting paid, I would probably do it too. I'm a whore for money, what can I say? Next one, I remember this guy, very briefly, but I remember him. Jimmy Wang Yang. Now, you might get a kick out of the name, Jimmy Wang Yang, but in WCW, there was a tag team called the Young Dragons, and one of them was called Yang. This was the guy. They were a great team. From what I've seen, very few matches that I've seen from them, they were a really good tag team. Really great bunch of cruiserweights. And I don't know why they decided to make him a cowboy in the WWF, but he came out as a cowboy gimmick. He had like the porn style mustache. I wouldn't even call it a porn style. I call it like a Fu Manchu mustache, but yeah, he was a half Korean cowboy. I'm not saying Koreans can't be cowboys. Don't get me wrong. But it just looked weird, I don't know. He didn't last much long. He didn't last long. But he's doing pictures for the WWE's website now. I don't get that either. Next, yeah. Next one is the Red Rooster. You talk about failed before it even got out of the gate. Terry Taylor, who, from what I've heard, was once positioned to be Mr. Perfect. You know, if Curt Hennig hadn't signed with the WWF, they were going to go with Terry Taylor as being Mr. Perfect. Now, I'm not saying he couldn't have done it, because Terry Taylor was a cocky asshole. And, you know, he was a good wrestler. He wasn't a great wrestler. I don't know if he could... It's hard to tell. Because Curt Hennig does such an awesome job as Mr. Perfect, it's hard to tell. But they decided to give him the name The Red Rooster. But this was the funny part. He came in as Terry Taylor. He hooked up with Bobby the Brain Heenan, one of the best heel managers ever. And it was, according to storyline, Bobby Heenan's idea to call him the Red Rooster. I want you to think about that for a second. It was Bobby the Brain Heenan who said, Terry Taylor, I'm going to call you the Red Rooster. This is going to be the greatest gimmick ever. You're going to be world champion. You're world champion material. Your name is the Red Rooster. You're named after a fucking chicken. Oh my God. You know Terry Taylor just felt his career imploding at that point. It didn't get any better. Because in he went back to WCW and they called him the Tailor-Made Man. Terry Taylor was like, fuck it, I'm done. I am so done with this wrestling bullshit. He's behind the scenes in a lot. I think he's behind the scenes in TNA now, but I don't know. Next one I do agree with too. When the Body Donnas came into the WWF, it was Tammy Sitch and Chris Candido. They were called Skip and Sonny. Again, just like the whole Simon Dean thing, these guys were exercise enthusiasts. But yeah, Chris Candido, who one of the hottest young prospects in wrestling, who met his end far too soon, was given the name Skip. Made it even worse at the fact that when he got a tag team partner, Dr. Tom Pritchard, they called him Zip. Skip and Zip. And then when they turned good, they got rid of Sonny and got a dude in drag named Cloudy. I hate wrestling. God damn. How do these... I don't know if I could... I say this, I don't know if it's true or not, but... Could you really sit there across from Vince McMahon when he's pitching you this idea, saying, we want to make you an exercise enthusiast, give you blue socks to wear, and call you Skip? You're telling me that Chris Candido didn't once just say, well, Vince, not that I'm not appreciating this opportunity you're giving me here, but why couldn't I just call myself Chris Candido? Next guy. Who? Who's that? Who? It's a bad Abbott and Costello routine. She need a front man here, but yeah. There was a guy in wrestling who wore a lucha libre style mask. Called himself Who. He was from who knows where, and he weighed in at approximately who knows what. I seen Who one time. I was on a Superstars. And the entire time, the announcers just killed that joke. They Family Guy'd that whole gimmick within one match. Who didn't last long. And I like the little blurb they put on the website because it said, Who disappeared and dropped out of the WWF like an anvil. Anvil. Because it was Jim the Anvil Neidhart who was under the mask. Who was under the mask? Who was under the mask? It was Jim Neidhart. Jim Neidhart is who? Who is Jim Neidhart? Yes, he is. I'm almost done. Next one. I seen this guy once, but it was in WCW, early 90s. His name was Arachnaman. Arachnaman. You know, he dressed up in this costume covered with spider web designs. He had a spider on his chest. He had a mask with spider webs all over it. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It is. It's Spider-Man. WCW basically had Spider-Man as a wrestler. I'm amazed they didn't do this. They could have made millions with this gimmick. Okay, maybe not, but they could have gotten Marvel to approve this. Or could you imagine if Marvel allowed their Spider-Man character to be a wrestler? You know, they would drop webs down from the ceiling and Spider-Man could swing on them and wrestle. Like, we could have Spider-Man versus Bonesaw. The real match. We could have had that. But no, we get Arachnaman. And they had to get rid of this gimmick because Marvel actually did sue them. Like, they said, like, this is way too much like Spider-Man. It would have been so cool if he had, like, silly string and he sprayed it at people. Like, this is my web. Like, and last name, Isaac Yankem. Isaac Yankem, DDS. The 7-foot, 320-pound dentist of Jerry the King Lawler. This was when Jerry Lawler was feuding with Bret Hart. And they had a Kiss My Foot match in which Lawler lost and had to kiss Bret Hart's foot. And apparently Jerry Lawler had like fucking halitosis from this shit because he had to kiss Bret Hart's foot. So he had to go to the dentist, his dentist, and says, well, Bret Hart, I'll show you. I'm getting my personal dentist to come and kick your ass. And you don't see many 7'4" dentists around. And side note, Isaac Yankem was Kane. He was also the second coming of Diesel. But yeah. So yeah, that's WWF's top 15 worst names ever. And some I agree with, some I don't. I've seen worse. I've heard worse. There was actually one. There was a wrestler. I only saw him in one match. He was a magician called Fantasio, and he did all these weird tricks as he walked to the ring, and he was wearing this weird mask. It looked like a Sting mask, but like Sting nowadays when he's doing the Crow gimmick. But he had this mask on, and he ripped off the mask, and it had like string or something through it, and his face was painted exactly like it. But it was so dumb. So dumb. He only lasted one match, thank God. What other names could I put in there? There's been some shitty ones, no doubt. I can't think. Major Guns. Yeah, she was a chick in WCW. The Wall. Shit. I'm drawing a total blank all of a sudden. But yeah, I'll have to look on their website again for more of these lists and see if I agree with it. Unfortunately, like I said, I'd have to go on a computer because my phone's so damn slow. But I know they have like the top 50 tag teams, which I really want to see what their top 50 tag teams are. Because one thing about WWE, they are very biased about their shit. They will only have one or two teams from other organizations. Most of the list is comprised of what they created, so it's very, very biased. Like this list right here. Let's see, one, two, three, four. Like only 4 names on here were from WCW or somewhere else. Like Hugh Morris, Just Incredible was ECW, Booker T's GI Bro, and Arachnaman. Those were the only 4. Everything else was WWF. Shockmaster was one of them. One of the really bad ones. Fucking Shockmaster. That's good. You don't know who Shockmaster is? Look that up. Get on YouTube. Look that shit up. Just look up Shockmaster debut, and you will find it. Because you'll have one of the funniest moments of your entire life. But, like I said, I'll look up more of them lists and maybe talk about that a little bit. See what we can get into. Because I know a lot of them I won't agree with. But, anyway, thanks for listening to me rant. Sorry Nala might have ruined the video a little bit. She's barking, knocking my camera down, but she's acclimating well, isn't she? Okay. Well, till next time, I'll catch you later.